On the other side, the Hill reports that Trump has now been atop the Republican polls for almost 100 days now. And on Fox, you have guys like Chris Wallace and Britt Hume accepting the fact that he might actually be the Republican nominee. Peter, have we underestimated this guy? Can he actually make a run for it and not fall apart like, let's say, a Herman Cain or Michelle Bachmann?
Well, the field on the Republican side is very, very weak. And in that kind of an environment, I guess the least weak candidate may, in fact, find a way to come out on top, at least for a period of time. I mean, Carson is a very niche candidate. His overt Christianity plays well in some Republican circles, but will wither and die in any kind of general situation. The other folks, we haven't really heard much of them. Jeb Bush keeps sticking his foot in his mouth. And he's still babbling about 9/11 and things like that. I mean, you want to talk about getting tired of Benghazi. I think we're pretty tired of rehashing the second Bush administration. Carla Fioroni, I mean, nobody's heard from her in a while, and the rest of the folks, the same thing. I apologize. So at this point, you're kind of left with Trump. I just can't see him succeeding. I mean, he hasn't even hit peak Trump yet. He's still sort of a comic character. He sort of blathers about this or that. But at some point, he's going to have to start getting pinned down on serious issues and get away from the saber rattling and the weird, bizarro, racist statements that he's made. Again, that will play in a general election. And it's possible to see one of maybe Rubio push to the front, or again, somebody from the Republican bench, and it's hard to come up with a name right now, that might see an opportunity and push him or herself forward.
Well, between how weak the field is, and I mean, you saw how hard it was for the Republicans, and still is, to figure out who their new speaker is going to be. What is this? I mean, let's say you have a Donald Trump candidacy, you have a Paul Ryan speakership after this muddled fight in the Congress. What does this mean for the future of the Republican Party? Is it going to splinter off into two parties with the far right conservatives and the establishment guys? Pete?
I think I'm much more worried about what it says about the future of the United States, because a Paul Ryan speaker with perhaps a Republican majority coming out of the election in Congress, and the way that Hillary brings such polarization to everything, I mean, it's going to mean another 4 or 8 years of very little getting done. The Republican Party has faced this dilemma now for quite some time. They kind of futzed it and got away with it a little bit with George W. Bush. First, he stole the first election in 2000, and then in 2004, he essentially sort of stole it again by the media picking up on the whole swift voting of John Kerry. Not that Kerry was a particularly strong candidate anyway, and some of the war fever there. So the Republicans kind of got a pass on it. But since then, they have, in fact, created this sort of forum for nutcases, which tends to work out well for them in their own primaries, where guns, gays, and abortion are really the only issues that voters seem to care about. And then they hit the general election, and people kind of look at them like, the drunk uncle who shut up at Thanksgiving. The Republican Party is in danger of simply eating itself. And if they ever faced serious competition on the local levels, they would be in real trouble. They've managed to hold it together because the representative from Hickistan, Kansas, can get away with running on guns and abortion. But on a national level, they got nothing, and they will either implode or they'll kind of figure out what they need to do here. I'm kind of favoring the imploding side right now, at least for the short to midterm.
Well, Eric, you're a big poll guy. Forget about the future. Right now, can the Republicans win a national election? I mean, you saw Romney just down in a huge electoral landslide. McCain, same thing. Can the Republicans actually win a national election anymore?
Apparently not.
Who would be the candidate coming out of it in this scenario, let's say?
It appears that it's a two-man race between Trump and Carson at the moment.
Right.
So
And again, I mean,
if we had a Trump, oh, well, I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, if we had a Trump versus Clinton, as much as Clinton's a better candidate, if Trump can capitalize on the popular topics, say the right things, and kiss more babies, there is a chance that he could just win the whole conservative vote and some fringe voters. It's just with Trump, it's like, people want to vote him because can it get worse with Clinton, who may do nothing? Maybe Trump will be different. That's the kind of mantra he's kind of flowing with, is that he's not going to be a status quo politician. He's going to try to do things differently. Whether he actually has a plan, he probably doesn't, but that's what he's running on, and people may be dumb enough to think it's true.
But you look at the math of it. Hillary is going to, more likely than not, she's going to win California. She's going to win New York. Those are huge states voting-wise. She's going to take the Northeast once Bernie Sanders has done his bit and disappears. Trump, of course, will sweep Texas. I don't think Hillary's even going to campaign down there. I mean, it'd be a waste of gas to even fly down there. But the liberal and the middle people are going to be terrified of Trump if it actually comes down to that. You've got battleground states of Illinois, Ohio, and Virginia. I'm going to step out here and predict that Hillary's running mate is going to be Terry McAuliffe, who's currently the governor of Virginia. She and Bill helped put him into that job. He's a long-term Clinton person. And Virginia is a critical state. It's like Illinois. It's really two states. It's physically a small area that is very democratic and generally liberal, and then a physically large area that's filled with a lot of redneck voters, if you will. Same as Illinois. In Illinois, she's got Rahm Emanuel running Chicago, who's going to deliver the votes, living or dead, in the great Chicago tradition. And then if McAuliffe is her vice president or even in a serious position, he's going to deliver Northern Virginia and its votes to her. At that point, you're really looking at Ohio and Florida as kind of critical turning points. I mean, nobody really cares in a presidential election what happens in Louisiana or North Dakota. And so those are tough ones. Ohio could go either way. Florida, very likely to go Republican, but I just can't see that Trump, any Republican, is going to be able to push Hillary aside. And I need to go on the record and say I say that as someone that really would rather give up a kidney than live under a Hillary Clinton administration.